Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to Speed Tips by Bob and Chad. How's everybody doing tonight? I don't even remember what episode this is, but we're excited to be here and another another nice night. Had a good weekend. Of course, Boone Speedway got rained out. Rain came through there about 8 o'clock, so it rained halfway through the mod first heat race. They got the sport mod heat races in and the mod lights in, but they didn't get any modified heat races in or any stock cars. So they rained out, but we definitely needed the rain. It could have waited a couple hours, but oh well, that's the way it goes. So what's new and exciting at Weir's Machine?
Oh, we're just kicked off a new week here. We're fresh off another factory support tour last week. Josh and Billy went to 141 to the Clash, and then we went to Cedar Lake after that. I joined them for Friday and Saturday, so we had a really good week on the road, getting to see all our customers and stuff, and now we're just back here rocking out a new week.
Awesome. Yeah, we were going to go to Boone. Bob and I was planning on going to Boone, but we looked at the forecast and it's like, there's no way that big cell's coming through there. And so we stayed home, which luckily it worked out. I didn't go to Marshalltown. I should have. McBurney won down there, so he had a good show. Races at 141, I guess, were really good. A lot of people, I seen a lot of good comments about how good the show was and everything, so that was pretty neat. And so now it's a lot of racing going on. Racing tonight in Independence, Iowa. I think that's actually on IMCA TV. So yes, lots of stuff going on. I mean, no doubt. We were super busy today. Phone was real busy, and of course they're working. The guys are working on those new cars that we got built, or that we're working on building, I should say. New stock car they got pretty much everything done. They're putting the body on it today, so that'll be coming to your home state here hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Cool.
And so that'll be exciting. So we're looking forward to that. Luke, moving the left rear of a sport mod out towards the infield tightens or loosens the car. It's going to change the wheel rate, the spring rate at the wheel. So the further out you move it, the lighter the spring's going to have to be. Whether it would actually tighten or loosen the car, I can't say that it would probably tighten the car. I would almost feel that it would probably loosen the car a little bit, but then you're getting the spring closer to the tire. So on the throttle, I would say it would loosen the car on corner entry and probably tighten the car up on the throttle would be my guess. 50 days to the Harris Clash. Was counting down, man.
That's coming quick.
I was looking at 2 weeks from today, July 3rd, and I'm actually not going to be here, so we're going to have to go July 10th, which will be 3 weeks from today for our next Bob and Chad episode.
I was joking with the marketing guys that, July 3rd, and I'm going to be in my swing with a whiskey. So if you want me on the show, I'll be probably a couple whiskeys in.
Yeah.
I'm cool with going the 10th. So.
Yeah. No, that's what we're going to have to do. What's the best, Tommy says, what's the best angle for a differential on an IMCA stock car? What's the best angle for the differential arms? The left arm, should we put it higher? Normally we run that left arm about 20 degrees, and that right arm is usually around 10 degrees. And then, of course, we've got it so that the left rear is a little more adjustable, so you can put a little bit more in it if you need to. But that seems to be pretty common. What most of those guys are running is in that that right rear is usually in between 5 and 10 degrees. The 10 degree makes the car rotate a little better in the middle of the corner. What's a good standard starting spot for rear steer at full droop on an IMCA modified? Well, I always go between that 2 3/4 and 3-inch mark, so that's the amount of rear steer that we get at full droop. That seems to be going pretty good, and then it's pretty adjustable from there. Took a buddy's car. My questions keep moving on me. Took a buddy's car out this weekend, and the car was good through the whole corner, and then it got a light, then like a light switch, the traction got shut off and spun instantly. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know actually what happened there, guys. We lost our online service, but now it says we're back on. So hopefully everybody doesn't think that we took the rest of the day or rest of the night off. So, some days you have those Mondays that are just that way, and I guess it's just kind of the way it goes. I don't know really what actually happened there, but anyway, so at least we got 6 people watching this now, so we're
back.
We're back. Yep, Amy says we're back.
All right.
Well, so if anybody's got any questions, we got plenty of time now. We're all back and ready to go. And
what really sucks is I think the last 3 or 4, I don't know if anybody even got, and I don't remember what they were, and now they're gone. So if we didn't get to your question and you didn't hear a response, I would re-ask it.
The first question we got, what's a good index number for the right rear on a IMCA modified? We only index it about a degree. I mean, it's very little. 0 indexing to only about a degree, because I don't really want the right rear is doing multiple things. It's indexing as the car rolls over anyway. So if you pre-index it, it can actually make the car a little bit tighter in corner entry. What's your opinion on that, Chad?
Yeah, I would always be into the spring so that when you start your motion, you're going the right direction you want to go.
Okay. Dynamic toe, is it normal for the right front to gain? Like I said, Kevin, what I would probably do, I definitely would bump steer that right front and make sure that it's not towing out a bunch on bump, because when it changes like that, that's a good indication that it's bumping out. When you check it in dynamic and you get a whole bunch more tow out, that's usually a bump steer problem, and you're going to want to check that. The best way to, and usually what's happening is if it's towing out, that means that the outer tie rod is either too high or the inner tie rod the other way around. The outer tie rod is too low or the inner tie rod is too high. So what I've done in the past, and we've done that on some cars, is we oversize the holes on the idler arm so that we can tip the idler arm slightly with using the factory holes, but just being bigger. And so I would definitely, because it's what's happening is it's towing out on bump, and you need to correct that. Is it true that the more the track is banked, the lower the wedge? Yeah, that's it. that's pretty common. Um, you know, you don't. The more the racetrack's banked, it doesn't try to de-wedge the car as much. So, the car is actually not rolling as much and rolling off the left rear. But uh, on a normal deal, I don't change much for wedge. I just work with stagger and work with my trailing arms, whether trail or lead or whatever. Um, okay. Um, Took my buddy's car out this weekend. The car was good through the whole corner. And then, like a light switch, the traction was gone and exit and spun instantly. Any ideas what could cause this? Shocks? I doubt there's a shock. It's more than likely it's a suspension bind, a suspension bottoming out. We had an issue like this with a car. What was actually happening was the tail shaft in the transmission actually was slightly twisted, so the drive shaft wouldn't go all the way in the transmission. So it would go in about an inch and lock up, and then all of a sudden bust the tires loose. We couldn't figure out for the longest time what was actually causing the problem because the car was perfect. It worked great. Come up off the corner, good. Get about 100 feet off the corner, and then it was just like snap, hit ice, and so I would check for suspension binds. I don't think a shock would cause a problem like that. If a shock's going to have a problem, it's going to have a problem phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It's just going to have a problem all the way through the corner. And that's on a metric chassis. I would believe something's bottoming out somewhere that's causing that thing to bust loose. What do you all recommend for trailer lead on the left or right side of an IMCA modified? Well, it depends on the situation. On an IMCA car, where we're running, 2 3/4 inch of steer in the car, we work a lot with lead. We play with that quite a bit because, once again, people get confused with lead and trail. They're in static situations, like if you shorten the left front, or if you lengthen the left rear, you think that the car's gonna not respond correctly. Well, the problem is it's never in that situation. It's always in dynamic, and in dynamic, it's always got trail in it, period. So basically, when we take and put lead in it, we're actually taking some of the dynamic trail out of the car because of the steer in it. So I always run static lead in my cars. It might only be 1/8 of an inch, and then adjust accordingly. I think the most I've ever actually went is 3/8 of an inch. And I know some guys go more than that, but I don't recommend going more than that, or I don't anyway. Hey guys, Northern Sport on metric chassis. We talked before, and I'm running springs and bar angles you recommended in the car. Amazing, but still no traction off. It's like on black ice. Need some ideas. Boy, Dustin, once again, if the car works good in certain areas and then all of a sudden quits working, that's usually a suspension bind, drive shaft bottoming out, something to that effect. When it gets to that situation, if it has no traction off the corner. I mean, the only thing you can do is, put some lead in it and up your rear percentage a little bit to try to help that. But I'm still believing that there's very possible there's some sort of a suspension bind someplace. Previous comments, Steve. Oh yeah. I hope you were still watching, Steve, when I read the fact about your grandson got his first win in the A main and the GRT BHE sport with shocks. And I'm assuming it was a sport mod division. So that sounds pretty cool. Congratulations, Dylan. And we sure thought that was pretty cool. Moving the left rear spring of Amy's given us those questions from before.
Yeah.
Moving the left rear spring from the sport mod outboard towards the infield tightens the car or loosens the car. I actually think it will loosen the car on corner entry slightly and tighten it coming off. The thing of it is, though, the closer you get to the wheel, the stiffer the lighter the spring has to be, because if you have a real stiff spring and you're real close to the wheel, it's not going to be enough action. It's going to be too stiff, and try to load that tire. It's not going to load the tire. It's just going to put force on it, which is going to cause it to possibly break loose. Took a buddy's car out. I already answered that one.
Yeah.
Now I have a sport mod and I have 200-pound springs across the back. What would a 175 on the left and a 225 do? Well, that's actually our normal setup, is a 175 left rear and a 225 right rear. We even got some people that are on 150 left rears and 125 right rears on a sport mod car. I know there's some guys even driving softer than that. I've not had good luck with anything softer than that. What I've found in the past, that 150 and the 225 works really well. That makes the car a little bit more side bite, keeps the car a little bit tighter getting into the corner, and then you can put more preload in that left rear and make it so that left rear has got more response. And it seems to work pretty good, in my opinion. Factory stock car with no weight jacks, stock mounting points, everything stock. Like I said before, you might not have heard it, but Terry, we've got I got a guy that works there. I'm not as familiar with those cars as what I should be. We've got a guy that works at the shop there, works in our shock room. His name is Braden. I'd give him a call. Seems to me, I'm thinking we run a 150 in that left rear. Is what I've heard him tell people in the past. So, feel free to give him a call and he can give you some ideas. Just call him at the shop there. And the number is 515-292-9200.
You there? Damn it, we lost the questions again. Oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you, Bob. Can you hear me? You didn't hear? Did you hit the mute button on your bottom mic screen? Well, this has been a Monday to forget. Third time's a charm, maybe. I don't know if anybody's seen it before. I think we maybe were logged off before, but yeah, the government's listening. The government's always listening. This is our angle finder for a bent lower bar. So when you have a bent lower bar, you can't put an angle finder on it to check the angle. So this thing telescopes between your spacers, and then you can read the angle, and it'll tell you actually what it is, because the angle is from the center of the bolt to the center of the bolt, so it doesn't know the shape of the bar. It just knows the angle of them 2 points. I think he's trying to log back in. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, the new parts drop. Yeah, so we were supposed to update that tonight too. So the new product is going to the plater on Wednesday. So we'll have the products back a week from Wednesday, and then they got to run through the lasering and packaging department, and then they'll be ready to rock. Hold on, Bob's calling me. Hello?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, the session's still logged in. I wonder, is your camera on the bottom turned off?
Camera's on the top, so I wouldn't turn it on.
Do you have that icon of you on the bottom where you... He still can't get in. I don't know what he's going to try and log out one more time. I don't know if that'll boot the system again and he'll lose everything. James, I'm not going to say what the product is until we release it. I don't want to give the competition a heads up of what we're doing. So it's a pretty cool part. It's going to be awesome. We're going to implement the change immediately, and every car that we produce that part on is going to be different moving forward, and it also will adapt to existing cars to make them better and increase the longevity of the product that it's meant to serve. So pretty excited. We got to see a bunch of them again. We went to Cedar Lake last weekend and did that testing there. So far so good on that project. So we're excited, and so we'll have product back in a week. Oh, it says Bob joined. Maybe we'll get him back here. Hey. Hi.
Hi. There we go.
Got sound even.
We even still have questions.
Yep. We got a couple there. I would do the AJ. Do you see AJ?
Yeah, I do. Okay. Car was great at the beginning of the year. I picked up a throttle push from the center off. Nothing is bent or binding. Will too much trail create this? Well, I wouldn't say trail shouldn't create a throttle push from the center off. Too much lead could definitely create a throttle push. Trail should actually make the car loose, is what I'm guessing. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what to tell you there, AJ, but that would be my consensus. And once again, I would make sure my rear end housing is not bent, which I know you said there was nothing bent, but in answer to your question, too much trail would make the car loose on throttle. Too much lead would make it tight on throttle. The chain that you sell for the left front, is it rolled tight in qualifying and loose in the final? Do you keep track of the racetrack when it gets slick? Well, what I actually normally do is for qualifying or whatever, I'll actually have the chain a little bit loose. In fact, I usually fix it so that I have about 1.5 inches of drop. Then when the racetrack slicks off and the car needs more left rear traction, I shorten that chain up to the point where I've only got about 1.25 inches of drop. And that seems to help get the car up off the corner a little bit better. It might hurt side bite just a little bit, where you might want to, on a real slick racetrack, you might want to put some J-bar in it, angle drop it on the rear end, one click, and that works pretty good. Yeah, Jeremy, we've been having some storms here in Iowa. We had a pretty healthy one go through here Saturday night. Uh, we haven't had anything today, so I don't know what was all going on with the internet or if that had something to do with it or whatever. But looks like I got everything restarted and hopefully good to go. So, Chad, how many days till much weighted part drops?
Yeah, I told them when you were gone, but it's they're going to the plater on Wednesday, and then they'll be back the following Wednesday, and then we'll probably release it that Thursday, Friday, that weekend probably.
Awesome.
Did you get it on Jake's car? Don't talk
Yes,
about it.
sir. It was on there for last weekend and 141 and for this weekend.
Sweet.
Are you going to say what the new product is?
Not till next week.
Oh man, you're going to have to watch the Facebook posts then, everybody, to keep in touch because this is top secret stuff.
I'm really excited. They're making a whole documentary of this whole process.
Sure.
So we're really excited. The marketing guys are doing a great job, and they're filming the whole process from the idea to the drawing board to the prototype to the testing at the track. They're really them two are just awesome. I can't wait to see the full video of the whole process when they get it done. It's going to be pretty badass.
Cool. Yeah, that will be pretty neat. USRB mod, what changes do you like to get more side bite? Will raising the left front spring rate tighten the car through the center? More side bite usually is J-bar angle, dropping it on the rear end a click will give you more side bite. Raising the left front spring rate, I don't know if that's going to help you a whole lot through the middle of the corner, but it definitely will help you getting into the corner because it will put side bite in the right rear on corner entry. Which corners of an IMCA stock car would you recommend the Torrington bearing style cup be? Go ahead, Chad.
Well, I'd run them on every corner that stays in tension. So the Torrington bearings are real finicky. You don't want to have it on a spring where if through motion you get the spring goes loose and there gets a gap, because then when it comes back together, it doesn't quite get lined up properly. That's where we've snapped a few washers, and so you want to have it in tension all the time so that it doesn't free fall onto that bearing, and then you have the possibility of snapping that washer. So the Torrington bearings are a huge effect on the life of the spring and taking the bind out through the spring twist through travel. So wherever you have a corner in tension, I would run a Torrington bearing for sure.
Definitely on the right sides. And if you've got a lot of load in your left rear where there's always load in that spring, the left rear would definitely be a must. If the left rear, like Chad said, if the left rear ever comes uncompliant with the where it comes free in there, that wouldn't be a good place to have that bearing. But some guys are running on the left rear, but they've got that 125 with a bunch of load in that left rear. The chain that you sell for the left front is hard to answer your question.
Doubled up.
Dave, what's the difference between an 11-inch spring and a 13-inch spring on the right rear of a sport mod? What I've found with the 11-inch spring, it lowers the spring table quite a bit on the right side of a sport mod. Definitely seems to give the car more side bite, lets the car get a little more roll. It rolls easier to the to the right rear. I'm sorry. Rolls on there a little bit easier. And in fact, we were just talking to a guy earlier today that went to that spring and felt that it helped him in a couple situations, corner entry and through the middle, just seemed like it gave his car a little bit more roll. And that's what technically is what it will do, because once again, you're lowering your spring table on that right rear, so it's going to want to roll over there easier. On a USRA B mod, what does moving the pull bar to the front holes of the rear's quick change pull bar plate do to the car?
Moving it
Go ahead.
Forward would take traction away, right?
Well, it depends on if he's moving it forward on the frame too. Myself, I would say it probably would take traction away, moving it ahead, but we've done that on a couple sport mods, but we also moved it ahead on the frame and actually gained some traction. So I can't say which actually did what it was supposed to do, whether it was moving it ahead on the rear end or moving it on the frame, because we did them both at the same time.
Right.
I actually think moving it ahead on the chassis probably helped it, because normally with a solid bar, the rear end isn't as the front to rear isn't as important as up and down. The height is, closer to the rear end, you're going to have more traction. Let's see here. I'm a little leery of moving anything too fast here.
It's been one of them Mondays.
Yeah. Ryan, 3-link car, smidgen tight on corner entry off the throttle and in turn free off. Smidgen tight on the throttle, on entry, off throttle, and in. Am I reading that right?
Smidge tight on entry, off throttle, and in turn free off. So it's tight on entry and off. On entry, off throttle, it's tight, and in the turn, it's free off.
Torn between bar angle changes and adding load to the right front. What would you preference be leaning towards? Honestly, if it's a little bit tight on corner entry and a little bit free off, I would probably lean towards possibly even a softer left front spring to get that thing so that I don't have that tightness getting into the corner. And then you can move your trailing arms, put more angle in the left rear, or whatever you want to do to get more traction off the corner. Dave says IMCA Sport Mod. Well, I hope we answered that correctly for an IMCA Sport Mod. Good evening, guys. I have an IMCA hobby. What's the drawback of having too much left side weight? Well, in my personal opinion, with those cars with that little tire and high center of gravity, I don't know. I would want to run high on left side weight. I would want to be in that 55% left side weight to get it so that it doesn't roll so bad getting into the corner. That would be my suggestion. Is it even legal to run an 11-inch spring? Thought it had to be 13. Now, there were some rumors going around that they were going to change that, so it had to have 13s, but they didn't actually change that. The rule, you can run an 11-inch in a sport mod. IMCA stock car, do you recommend a tie-down shock on the right rear for a slick racetrack? I do. It's a little tricky on how that right rear shock is built, because you don't want to have too much nose on the rebound of it. But it will definitely a nice linear rebound shock would work really well for the right rear. Yeah, Brandon, it definitely would help the car traction up, get up off the corner, keep the car stuck on the right rear, through the middle and up off the corner. Just keeps the right rear down. Brian, what y'all think about brake bias running left front, right rear, and left? I think the problem you'd run into on that situation is, I think you're complicating a situation that you might not want to be complicating. I don't know. I would shy away from it myself. I understand what you're trying to do is get less on the right front, but you're going to get the car out of balance, and the brake adjuster, because when you just run one cylinder to one cylinder, I'm afraid it wouldn't work so well. I think you'd have a lot of. Bob, can you give a quick talk on J-bar adjustment, longer, shorter, up, down, on pinion, on frame? I run a USRA B mod with a 19-inch Wears bar and currently 0 on the pinion with a quick change. Well, the biggest thing is I I started off with about 6 inches of rake with running your pinion at 0 where you've got it. Then on the frame, I go up 6 inches so that my frame measurement 6 inches above where I am on my rear end. I leave it on the frame. I never adjust it on the frame. I always adjust it, and with that 0, if I get on a racetrack that's super, super sticky or whatever, I can always raise that to above 0. And if I get on a dry stick racetrack, I can go one click below 0, and it's a very good fine tuning. The other thing that that I do a lot of times is I'll shorten that J bar one turn or lengthen it one turn, depending on what I want to do with the rear end. If I want the rear end, it's kind of like putting wheel spacers in, but it's only 1/8 of an inch, and that works really well. So if you move it to the right, it's going to free the car up. If you move it to the left, it's going to tighten it up. But most generally, I just use that. I put mine in there where you've got it at 0, and then I go up 1 for a heavy racetrack, and I go down 1 for a real slick racetrack, and that works pretty good. Aaron says, thank you. We appreciate it. I appreciate you guys' patience tonight. We had some difficulties, and I should have restarted my computer before the night started, and I didn't do that, and evidently, whatever, I guess. Chad, love your products. I'm new to the IMC Modified, waiting to upgrade my stuff to your parts. Just takes time being on a budget. Love your trick tools and parts. Hope to get some products soon. Just wanted to say hey and great job, guys. Well, appreciate that, Chad.
Yeah, thanks, Chad. We're here for you whenever you're ready.
So, yep, no doubt. Well, we've got time for 1 or 2 more questions. If anybody out there has any more questions. Once again, 50 days to the Harris Clash. Boy, time's running down. And like we said earlier, in 2 weeks will be July 3rd. Chad won't be available and I won't be available, so we're going to have to go July 10th. Will be our next episode, which is a Monday night on July 10th. So be prepared for that or whatever. Tips on ways to increase forward bite off the corner on a limited modified. Like I said, I play a lot with lead. That seems to work pretty good. That'll help give you some forward bite coming up off the corner. If you're not running the spoiler, sometimes rear percentage, you might just have to increase rear percentage to help the car get up off the corner. But that, in answer to your question, could take a whole bunch. So once again, now all of a sudden we're getting all kinds of questions, and
you said last call.
Holy moly.
I think we're at 1. Spring bar.
Okay. Spring bar dampener shock versus none. Spring bar dampener shock, definitely. The spring pull bar is a must, in my personal opinion. I think you need to control that wrap of that spring with some type of a shock absorber. Usually it's like a 90-10, 9 compression with a 10 rebound. That works pretty good on IMCA modified. That's what we run on all of our IMCA stuff with the spring bar. Effect of less crossweight. Less crossweight will make the car tighter on corner entry and freer off the corner. What you'll find, though, a lot of times the car will be much tighter on corner entry to the point where it rolls the center better without the crossweight, and you'll pick up speed to the point where you'll actually think you gain traction off the corner, but you just gain momentum up off the corner. What's your favorite adjustments when racing ultra slick racetracks? Well, once again, I still like playing with that dynamic lead in the car, pulling that right rear or that left rear back or the right rear ahead a little bit. That works pretty good. Pull bar adjustments work pretty good. You kind of sometimes, depending on what you want to do, whether you can lower it on the front of the frame can sometimes increase some traction, which is giving you more angle on the pull bar. Those are some things you can probably do. And once again, don't forget 50 days to the Harris Clash. Half mile. Yeah. Half mile racetracks it's easier to get traction, I think, on a half mile racetrack than it is because your speed is so much better going through the corner, but you're still going to have that same problem up off the corner. So those kind of would be the adjustments that I would do. Okay, Jeff was our last question. No, Scott's our last question. Hi, Joey. Advice. Wish I could have seen you in Wisconsin. Well, I appreciate that. I was kind of wanted to go, and then it was kind of one of those deals where projects got in the way, and somehow or another that drive to Wisconsin, to that particular racetrack in Wisconsin, is not my favorite trip. And if I took the motor home, it's like, riding a school bus in a 2-lane road that's wide enough for a lane and a half. Jeff, AMOD, tight on throttle mid-corner. What adjustments to help it? Tight on throttle mid-corner. Put a little bit more angle in the left lower bar on a 4-link car would definitely that's going to help your, if it's tight on throttle mid-corner, a little more angle in that left lower would definitely be a help. Scott, what is your optimal pinion angle in an IMCA sport mod? I always run 7 degrees. IMCA Northern Sport Mod, what would be the effect to raise or lower the right side bar an equal amount on the cage and on the frame at the same time, not adding or subtracting angle? You'll find when you do that, you're actually going to gain traction, because once we raise that on the rear end, when we raise it on the rear end, that automatically puts traction in it to the point where you almost have to keep the angle in it, because otherwise the car would be too tight. If you need traction up off the corner on a sport mod, that's a definite go-to. Raising it on the cage itself or on the 2-link bracket itself, and then keeping the angle would definitely help you get more traction up off the corner. All right, Sean, I hope that helps you. I hope everybody, like I said, thanks for bearing with us on all these freaking technical difficulties. Patience is not my strong thing, and technical difficulties are useless in my opinion, so I don't really tolerate them well, but I'm doing really good tonight. I'm keeping calm. I haven't smashed anything or nothing like that, so I'm good. Well, you guys have a happy holiday coming up, and look forward to all the races that we've got going on. There's all kinds of races coming up, so hopefully I'll get to see some of you at some of these racetracks. We'll be coming to some of those specials here soon, and Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you on July 10th.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Now I even get a network error trying to get out of this.